With the Euros and now Copa America in full swing, the transfer market is kind of at a halt, with the majority of high-level players currently competing for the national team, and most clubs are waiting for both tournaments to end before they start moving for players. And outside of Mbappe leaving PSG to join Real Madrid, no real huge transfers have happened yet. But with a notable move finally happening in Crystal Palace's Michael Olise leaving Crystal Palace to join Bayern Munich for just £45 million, which is a really good move by Bayern. I want to talk about a transfer that may have gone under the radar just a little bit, and is arguably a bigger steal than Bayern Munich and Olise for £45 million, and that signing is former Chelsea and former Borussia Dortmund player Ian Maatsen joining Aston Villa for just £37.5 million. And this transfer is a steal and a half. And this transfer could also end up being one of the best transfers in the window. But why do I think this? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. In 2018, Chelsea signed Ian Maatsen from PSV's youth team for just €110,000. Maatsen then went on several loan spells to Charlton Athletic, Coventry City, and despite being impressive for both Charlton and Coventry, his next loan to Burnley in 2022 is where he kind of announced himself to the world. Maatsen was easily one of Burnley's best players and easily one of the best players in the championship as a whole. This was a Burnley team, might I add, that won the championship with 101 points, losing just 3 games all season in the league under the now Bayern Munich manager Vincent Kompany. Maatsen played 42 games for Burnley, scored 4 goals and got 6 assists from left back, and was rightfully included in the championship team of the season. And with his return at the end of the season back to Chelsea, I thought that the 21-year-old would be given tons of game time in this young Chelsea team. After all, Maatsen fits the profile of a Chelsea player in this team. He is a young player, he has a very high ceiling, he's a very high level defender, he's really good at bombing forward, and is really good for the team in and out of possession. He doesn't really have many weaknesses. Now, I do understand that with players like Cucurella, with players like Ben Chilwell, and even as dumb as it is, Levi Colwill, all also playing at left back for Chelsea, that it would be hard for Maatsen to break through. But Maatsen, I thought, would be more than able to do so. Again, he proved his quality in Burnley. He was really good for Coventry. He is a really high level player, and he's young. I thought he would more than hold his own and get enough game time for Chelsea. But despite what I thought, Maatsen barely got any game time at Chelsea in the first 6 months of the season. Despite Chelsea clearly struggling in the first 6 months, seeing them sit 11th on the 30th of December, Maatsen, arguably one of the best players in the championship the season prior, managed a measly 210 minutes throughout the Premier League season. Seeing him play basically everywhere but his best position, that being left back. Pochettino had Maatsen at right wing, left mid, right mid, but he only saw 17 Premier League minutes at left back, which is just stupid. Levi Colwill, who is certainly a centre back, not a left back at all, managed more minutes at left back than Ian Maatsen. Like, what are we doing? So I don't think it surprised really anyone that Chelsea decided to loan Maatsen out again, this time to the Bundesliga to join Borussia Dortmund. And at Dortmund, well, Maatsen proved to Chelsea what a lot of us thought, that he is a really, really good player, especially when he's allowed to play at left back. In the first game after the winter break, Maatsen started against Darmstadt for Dortmund in a 3-0 win, and he never looked back. Displacing the summer signing Rami and not letting that left back role go at Dortmund. Maatsen played 16 out of the possible 18 Bundesliga games for Dortmund. He missed one because of a suspension, and he missed one due to rest. And Maatsen played the full 90 of every single knockout Champions League game for Dortmund, including the full 90 in the final against Real Madrid, where Dortmund lost 2-0 and Maatsen did not have his best game at all. But despite that one-off in the final, Maatsen proved that he was an extremely high-level young player that deserves game time at his club. And I was convinced after this loan spell that if Dortmund didn't do what they could to sign him, if they just couldn't manage to sign him, well then Chelsea would do everything possible to keep one of Europe's best young left backs at the club. But no. Maatsen is now set to leave Chelsea to sign for fellow Premier League side Aston Villa on a permanent deal for, get this, just £37.5 million. An absolute steal for a 22-year-old that was one of Europe's best left backs last season. Villa got their left back of the now and the future for just £37.5 million, which is nothing in today's market. And with Maatsen still having 2 years left on his deal before Chelsea agreed to sell him, Chelsea weren't pressed to sell him to the first buyer that they could get and could have potentially waited for after the Euros for an inevitable bidding war to start for Maatsen. Maatsen is one of Dortmund's best players last season, and I have no doubt that Maatsen will end up being one of Aston Villa's best players this season. I can't understand why Chelsea wanted to sell Maatsen so soon. Maybe I get you couldn't keep him because you wanted to leave, but again, you could have waited for a bidding war to break out. And I know Aston Villa have guys like Luca Digne and Alex Moreno who are both competent left backs, but this season that will see Aston Villa play some Champions League football, they need depth, and I have no doubt that Maatsen will end up being the first choice left back for this Villa team. This is amazing business by Aston Villa, and I can't wait to see Maatsen ball out for them.